Bonjour tout le monde. We are so happy to see some of our former tutors from high school now, and also our grade 7 that were tutoring last year, and our present tutors. So we have a good mix of people for this panel. And today we're going to ask you a few questions about your experiences when you were a tutor, when you were a reader, because some of you were readers as well, and also if you have any ideas of how to improve this program, because we're always looking at better ways to do our tutoring program. So I would like to pass on the mic to Jean-Luc. Bonne chance, Jean-Luc.
Thank you, Nicole. So I would like first to see whether we could introduce yourself. So why don't we start here on this side?
All right, I'm Renee, and I am a grade 10 student, and I was a former tutor in grade 5 and 6.
I'm Allison. I'm in grade 6, and currently I'm a backup tutor, but last year and last term I was a tutor.
I'm Danielle, in grade 7, and I was a tutor last year in grade 5.
Hey, I'm Dylan. I'm in grade 7, and I was a tutor in grades 5 and 6.
I'm Dune, and I was a tutor. I'm in grade 7, and I was a tutor in grades 5 and 6.
I'm Clea, and I'm in grade 9, and I was a reader in grade 2 and a tutor in grade 6 and grade 7.
Hi, I'm Katia. I'm in grade 6. I was a reader when I was in grade 2, and now I'm a tutor.
Hi, I'm Louie. I was a reader in grade 2, and now I'm a tutor.
I'm Victor. I'm in grade 12, and I was a tutor when I was in grade 6 and grade 7.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll have a good mix, it seems, of tutors, former tutors, current tutors, and also some of you have been readers before, which is very nice. I'd like to start by asking perhaps our former tutors, since it's been a while since you did it, could you tell me what really stays with you from this time when you were a tutor?
I'm still a tutor today. The sort of traditions carried on. I'm a peer tutor this time in math instead of reading.
Is it something you've been doing all through your high school years?
Basically, yeah. Formally and informally, I've kept it going.
Do you think that your experience as a tutor here was what triggered your...
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I wouldn't really have had any exposure to it if I hadn't done it here. And so it's definitely triggered it and made me, it's sort of made it something I want to keep doing and keep as a part of my life.
Mm-hmm. How about Renee?
Well, for me, it's more what I learned from it, and from that experience, I've kept some things about it. I really learned more to be responsible. When you're in the peer tutoring program, you're responsible for a kid for that time in the morning. And so I think that's really helped me, and I've learned a lot about being more responsible for it.
Okay. And we also have another high school student, Clea.
Well, I think it kind of gave me a sense of like leadership. So when you go into high school and you do or other things you do in groups of people, you can sort of take leadership and guide people.
Uh-huh. Have you been a tutor since you were here?
Not really. I mean, I help my brother do stuff sometimes.
That's an interesting thing. Do you feel that your relationship with your siblings, smaller children, has changed as a result of being a tutor in this program?
For me, it's more, now I can understand when my sister has trouble, I can help her along with it instead of just getting mad because she's getting it all wrong. So it did help me to understand better the kinds of trouble she would have in her reading, and then I could help her.
For me, I don't have any siblings, but my experience has helped me in summer jobs. Like in the summer, I worked at summer school, and I had to supervise kids, and it's a little different, but it was good to be able to know how to approach them one-on-one and interact with them in a positive way. And it also helps when you're volunteering with smaller kids too.
Or maybe I should try and ask a few questions to those of you who are current tutors. And it also applies to the ex-tutors if you remember anything about it too. What do you think are the main advantages of being a tutor in this program? What are the things that you really think make it worth spending half an hour?
Well, you know, you're helping learn something that will stay with them for the rest of their life, probably.
It's also that too, and it's fun. I interact with the reader and talk about things that don't go on within the library when we're doing it, reading, but yeah.
So you make friends with younger children. Do any other people can comment on that?
Well, I basically agree with both of them. I think it's both important to, help them out with reading. That will make a permanent, hopefully, imprint on, help them be able to understand better French in the future, and then getting to know them and making friends from them.
Do any of you have interesting anecdotes about making friends and relating to your readers?
Well, a couple minutes, like when we get into the library, before we start reading or whatever, I just take a couple minutes and ask them what's going on and what's happening in his life and whatever, just to, yeah.
Do any of you interact with them outside the reading program when you're at recess on school grounds?
Yeah, when you see them outside, it just seems like you have a connection with them, and you see them play soccer or something, you go score.
Well, when I was a reader, I always used to go, and at lunch, my tutor would let me go sit with her and eat lunch, and I felt so cool because I was in grade 2, but I was hanging out with the grade 7s. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm so cool. I have big friends.
That's great.
And,
any of the older tutors, do you remember?
Well, I'm in grade 10 now, and I actually still have contact with the girl I tutored in grade 5. So whenever I see her, we'll stop and we'll chat a little bit about how her life is going and things like that. So for me, that was really neat that still 5 years later, we're still talking to each other.
That's great. Any other disadvantages for you in terms of being part of the program? How does it affect, for example, your work in the class, or do you have problems? Do you miss any instruction? Is it a problem?
No, well, what happens for the program, we go down during silent reading, so we don't miss any of the work, so we don't get behind, and we're back up by the time it finishes.
Have you noticed are the teachers understanding, and do they support you in that?
Yes.
Being part of this program as a tutor, is it considered to be cool or not?
I remember when, but even when we were doing it, almost everybody wanted to do it. The majority of the class. So there were more backup tutors than tutors because there weren't enough readers.
But do you remember whether that actually changes over time?
The participation?
Well, the motivation. You said at the beginning everyone wants to do it.
For most of the time, I think most people wanted to do it.
Well, I think when the kids have already done one term and then they come back and do another one and then come back and do another one, because sometimes they do the whole year, they'll say each term. By the second and third term, they start getting bored with it and they're like, oh, I want to do harder books and more interesting books, and then it becomes harder for the tutor to keep them interested in what they're doing. And especially if sometimes you'll have same tutor and the same kid the whole way through, but usually there's so many people who want to do it that they switch it around. And so then you don't know this kid and you have to keep trying to keep them concentrated, and you don't well, why are you doing this? I don't understand, and it gets confusing.
That's where at the end where you play a small game or something with the words that they've learned, then that's what keeps them interested. I think that's really good.
Okay. Has any one of you had experiences of having difficulties relating to your readers, or having to change reader because it didn't work out?
No.
No?
Well, I think if you're tutoring in the program, usually you're in there because you're open to anyone, and you're pretty good at relating to other people, so you can kind of adjust, and so that's why you'd be good for it. And so when you, like, most kids, they're fine.
How about you guys as tutors? Do you feel that the program has modified a little bit your behavior in some way towards school or towards your relationship to others, your willingness to help?
Yeah, I think I also have I have more of a willingness to help out, just informally, like in class. If someone needs help or after school, they're like, "Oh, I don't get this," then whatever subject it is, because later on you have sort of less trouble with reading per se, but you feel more inclined to help out and give them a hand and try and help them like you did in the past.
So you have more empathy
Yeah.
towards those who have difficulties.
Yeah, and I think you're also a bit more effective in helping them understand because of what you learned.
For me, it really built my confidence up because you have these little kids who completely, well, most of the time, look up to you. And if they do that, then you feel more confident yourself, and then you're willing to go and try other things with other people. And so that really helped a lot. So then I would be willing to tutor more kids because I knew I could do it.
That's great. So, do you feel that this program also helps in the overall atmosphere of the school? Do you have a sense that it enhances, I say, in the schoolyard and during recess, does it promote better behavior between older kids and younger kids?
Yeah, because most of the older kids, if they're tutoring younger kids, and it's less likely for there to be like bullies because older kids have like been tutoring the younger kids, and if they see some of their friends or some other people in their grade doing it, they're more likely to go over and try to stop them than if you hadn't done the tutoring in that. So yeah, it definitely affects the relationship between the older kids and the younger kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I know quite a few younger kids just through the tutor program. I know quite a few people just not from the school who aren't in my grade, who are 3 years younger, 4 years younger.
I think it definitely helps to sort of integrate everyone of the different grades and ages, and sort of interact more with each other, because you definitely sort of make a bond with your tutee, and then you see them on the playground and help them out, or eat lunch with them, or play sports, where at track meets or something, you go and talk to them and see how they're doing. And so outside of the classroom, it does help a lot, and I think everyone that I know benefited from it.
For those of you who were readers, do you remember what it was like to have this special relationship with an older child?
I don't really remember my time as a reader, but when I was younger, I had because some of my friends have older siblings, and you kind of feel a bit safer if you know kids who are in a higher grade than you.
Mm-hmm.
The same as being a tutor. When you left to go read, you felt special because your friends knew that you were going and doing something other than just the normal routine.
Mm-hmm. Did it help you overcome your fear of the bigger kids, older kids? I know that the first day is always very daunting for the readers. They are so afraid of these big kids. And do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yes?
At first I was really afraid of the older kids, and then after the program I felt really special and I had a lot of fun.
And you realized that these older kids were not
Nice.
that bad actually, and they were actually quite nice, right? Okay. Did you ever have to deal with a reader who had really difficulties in reading?
Sort of. It's not really that she had a difficulty of reading, but it's more she didn't take the time to actually pronounce the words. Because sometimes she'd be reading and she comes to a word she can't really pronounce. She'd just say something that she thinks sounds like that and go on. And even if I told her to stop, she'd just pronounce it. She'd pronounce it, and I asked her to read again. She'd say it the same way over again.
Mm-hmm.
she just really wouldn't get the concept of the word.
Mhm.
So that was the only main problem I had.
One of my readers was constantly substituting things. Just like he'd read something and he would notice similarities in the words in the book to words elsewhere and change them.
Mhm.
And it changed a lot of the story.
So how did you deal with it?
Well, what I'd do is I'd make him repeat the sentence the right way, and then after he had, figure out the proper sense, and I'd explained any difficult words, and he'd understand them.
Mm-hmm. And it improved over time? Did you feel that he actually improved?
I think so.
Yeah. I would like to ask you also with regard to French, and do you feel that this program, for those of you who are readers, has it improved your French? Do you feel that it really helps you a lot in not only reading but also in?
I think it improves your like conversational French more, not necessarily like your grammar and like how you use your grammar, but like how, so you can actually have like a conversation with someone. So if, like if you went somewhere where they spoke French, instead of just like you could actually like have a conversation in French instead of just like knowing how to do grammar but not knowing how to really speak it.
So you remember vividly having these conversations with your tutors and interacting?
Yeah, because so you like have like as part one of the rules you had to speak French, you weren't allowed to speak English because it was a French reading program. So you'd be like interacting in French, and you'd learn also new words that you weren't necessarily reading because you wouldn't like know like how to say them, or like your tutor would say something, you'd be like, what does that mean? And they'd be like, oh, it means this, and they explain.
Did it improve your confidence?
Yeah.
In French in general?
Yeah, I think it did.
Yeah. Anyone wants to comment on that?
In the long term, I think it really helped, but at the time it didn't really seem like it was doing much. But then after a while, you start to notice that it actually helped a lot, and it changed a lot, big aspect of your life.
I wasn't a reader, but as a tutor, you can definitely see the improvement over the year, because when you tutor one kid for the entire term, you can definitely see him improve, and it's really neat to see him. At the beginning, he was having trouble with 3-syllable words or 2-syllable words, and by the end, he's just sounding them out, and we can keep reading. So it's good.
I remember every once in a while you'd have that horrible moment where you're reading the book with your reader, and you come to a word that you don't know. And then you're pretending that you do know it so that they still think like, oh, he knows all of it, he can help. You sort of come up to a parent, what does this word mean?
Uh-huh.
And then you have to.
So is it embarrassing for you not to know certain words?
A little.
You find it embarrassing?
Well, I think after for the first time it happens to you, you're kind of like, oh, what do? I don't know this word. And then like after like 2 times, you're just like, well, I don't actually know what this means, so I'm just gonna go ask what it means. And then they're like, okay.
Do you feel that you are in a position where you're actually a teacher and you should know everything? Did it change your attitude towards this particular issue, that to realize that it's okay not to know everything? It's okay to ask when you don't know.
I think it helps. It doesn't totally change it. It makes you feel more like, okay, I don't have to know absolutely everything. I can go ask someone who knows more than me.
They don't mind that you're asking the questions because you're not their teacher, and I think they like that about it. They like it that you don't know everything and that you need help too. And I think that makes them feel more comfortable with you, and then they're able to kind of understand what you're feeling as well.
You're all in the same boat, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
We all need help sometimes.
Right.
Yeah, it is sort of nice when, you don't want them to think that, you sort of personally, subconsciously want them to think that you know everything, you know all the words in the book and everything. But it's actually probably motivating for them to know that, you're not all knowing.
And I think it also helps because then they know that when like they're older, or if they're like really uncomfortable and they don't know what a word means, that it's okay that you can go up and ask someone about it instead of just trying to like guess or whatever, because they know that you can do it, and so they think that they know that it's okay for them.
For the tutors, do you feel that this program has changed your attitude towards French and learning French?
I found that I try to find, I find that I'm using a dictionary a lot more to try not to use the easier words that come into my head, but using the synonyms that are more complicated, more complex.
Yeah, in terms of oral French, I really think it helped me because if you're a tutor, you have to learn to hear the mistakes as well as see them. So now I can hear mistakes more in my French and my friend's French, and then I can start to change that, and that's really helped me a lot.
Just as you're talking, just the right conjugation and all that, instead of having to write it down and go back over it and everything like that.
But do you feel that this peer tutoring program, whether you participated in it as a reader and or as a tutor, motivated you to stay in the program better than you otherwise have?
Yeah, because when I was in in grade 4 and maybe the beginning of grade 5, when I was thinking like, oh, I don't want to do French in high school. It's gonna be too hard. But then like after I did the tutoring for a while, I realized like French is actually a lot better than it seems sometimes. Because I was like in grade 4 and 5 when we were just starting like the English, just half day in English. But it made me think I wanted to do French more after.
Well, I think it gives you like confidence because like when you're asked to be a tutor, you feel like, oh well, obviously I know what I'm doing. So I am good at French, even though if you're like having trouble with something in your class, like, well, I am good at it, so maybe I can just like keep like trying to like fix it.
It also made you realize that you could have fun speaking French, and it's just the same as any other language. You can do whatever you want.
Right, it's the interaction you have, right? It's not just the reading. You interact in French, and it becomes alive suddenly. It's not just the language you speak in class or the teacher speaks. You can do things with it.
I think that's the most important thing, that you realize that it's not just about the reading, it's also about the interaction, and then you realize how fun that is, and I think that's what helps you get through the French immersion program. And I think that tutoring program really helped me out, realizing that I can have fun speaking in French.
And I think it was last summer or 2 summers, I think it was 2 summers ago, where I went to Quebec and with my family, and we were camping at a campsite and there was a park. So I went over to the park and there was this other kid who had a soccer ball, and he only spoke French, and because of French immersion I managed to talk to him and we could communicate, we could talk to each other, and we played soccer together and had a lot of fun.
Any other anecdotes about how your experience as a tutor has helped you in other aspects of your life?
Not yet, but now it kind of helps because now we know how to teach something and we've had the experience, so yeah.
I've also volunteered during the summer at some summer camps at community centers with children who are about 7, 8. I think the tutoring program really helped me be able to talk with those kids and be able to have fun with them because I knew how to interact with them. Whereas if I hadn't done it, I'm not sure I would have known so well what to do with them and what worked and what didn't work.
Yeah, you certainly need a certain level of openness. You can't always go, no, you have to like what I like, otherwise I'm not going to play with you or whatever. If you're doing anything like the tutoring program, or because conversations will go nowhere if you both have a completely different point of view and completely different.
Yeah, like it does have to have a certain amount of openness, but also a bit of discipline. Because like if you're in the tutoring, sometimes your reader wouldn't concentrate or you want to read something else. But then like if you're volunteering at a camp and that, or they want to do something that's probably not the best idea to do, you know how to handle it without getting angry and making the kid feel unhappy or afraid.
Did being both a reader and a tutor, actually, but mostly a tutor, do you feel that it improved your sense of responsibility? The fact, for example, that you have on those days to absolutely be on time and think about it, and some of you perhaps were captains also and you had to gather all these students. Do you feel that you became suddenly more responsible?
It definitely helped me a lot with my responsibility. You have to be there on time or else your kid's going to be sitting there waiting alone. And you have to be willing to, if you're having a bad day, just to go in there and have fun, even if you don't want to.
Right.
So that helped me a lot, and now at high school I'm using that a lot, because even if I'm having a bad day, I still have to do tests or do things like that. So that's helped me quite a bit.
And you do feel responsible because after you realize how big of an impact you can have on the readers, and so you're a little nervous because it makes you worry, but you also it pushes you to do well and to do the best that you can with your reader, and so it does make you act more responsible and try to help them more.
What was it like to become a tutor for those of you who are readers?
I think it made you feel kind of good because like you had to go into the reading program, and so then you're kind of like your French wasn't as good, and you're kind of like, okay, well I'm learning now. But then like when you're older, you get to actually go and you're tutoring someone, so it makes you feel like it actually did help you, obviously, because now you have the skills to go and tutor someone, and also you kind of know the position they're in when they're like come in and there's like big kids and they're like, oh my god, there's like big kids and what am I gonna do? And you're like, oh well, like I did that, so it's like then you're like kind of more open to them.
Do you have any suggestions to improve the program? Do you feel that it's perfect and nothing should be changed, or do you have certain suggestions?
I think it's great the way it is. I think the program is very efficient already.
I don't really think we had this problem at Tennyson, but I could definitely see a big problem being because you are missing the first 15 minutes.
It's half an hour.
Half an hour of school, that you could run into problems if the teachers don't accept that. For us, I think most of the time they did, but if there was silent reading and you really wanted to finish a book, or if you had to do some projects during that time, sometimes it got a bit awkward. But most of the time at Tennyson, at least, the teachers are pretty accepting. If you're a tutor and you have to be down there.
So it's important that teachers are
Definitely.
fully supportive of the program.
For both the tutors and the people who are tutoring.
How about the timing? Do you feel that twice a week for half an hour every time is a good
It's
balance?
perfect.
Should
That's
it be more or less? Or?
That's the perfect amount of
It's
time.
also good that it stretches over the week. It's not like 2 days right after each other, that it's stretched out. And it also helps if your tutoree is having problems or something, then you can think about it for the day that you're not having tutoring to try to find like a solution.
Yeah, I think if it was more, it would just be a bit too much during the week. And if it was less, it just wouldn't be worthwhile. So I think twice a week really is a good amount of time.
Yeah, like on the subject of the relationship between older students and younger students, too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. So with them together all the time, like if it was 3 or 4 days a week, it would definitely, or most probably cause, they're together all the time, they would get increasingly bored.
Whereas the way it is now,
Restless.
you can look forward to it.
Yeah.
Because it's not as much fun if you're doing it 3 times a week, 4 times a week. It gets old.
It's every day,
Becomes a
part of the
routine.
routine.
Yeah.
All right, I think we'll stop. I would like to thank you very much.
Thank
you.
you.